you to the organizers for having me at this forum to talk about the Selangor water issue and TALAM. It's always a pleasure to come to Ipoh, the city of good food and friendly people, and a much more relaxed atmosphere compared to Kuala Lumpur. To show you how Kuala Lumpur can be like, I'm still in the same shirt I wore to court this morning. Finished court, rushed back home, rushed here. And I think for about 1 hour, from about 5:30 to 7 o'clock, it was battling the traffic to get out of the Klang Valley. But never mind, we didn't come here to talk about the problems of the Klang Valley of transport, but to talk about water and TALAM. But you know, before I start on that, I like the story that Mr. Koo told about Balfour Beatty and George Kent. So why do you disregard, as you said, the best, established contractor, 100 over years track record, cheapest tender, and go and give it to George Kent? The answer is called project. It's about a project. Now, project may have different meaning for some of the younger fellows. I'm not talking about that project. I'm talking about project because project means somebody can make money. And if we look at the water issue, it's still about project. Except what is the project? Money. It is the Langat 2 project. And the cost has gone from 5 billion. In 2008, it was 5 billion. Today, it's 8.5 billion. That's what project means. Why are they pushing it? They want to sign. When they sign, they collect money. Not 1 or 2 billion, hundreds of millions. Whose money? Our money, the public's money. So this is what we need to step back and understand, see the water issue from that bigger perspective. What the state government is trying to do is to protect the interests of the people of Selangor. I think William put it so well. We are going to save the people of Selangor 1 billion ringgit every year by taking it back into state-managed hands and run it properly. We can deliver water cheaper, and at the same time, we save the people of Selangor 1 billion ringgit every year. Otherwise, what happens? If this had carried on like before, where does this 1 billion go? It goes into the pockets of companies like SYABAS. Specifically, it goes into the pockets of people like Rosalie Ismail. You know how much this guy is paid a month? He owns the company. He owns the company. So he's a billionaire several times over already. On top of that, gaji every month. 400,000 a month. Nice, isn't it, to have a salary of 400,000 a month? He takes home a salary, a paycheck, a salary of over 4 million a year. I'm not even talking about bonuses yet. I'm not talking about the money he makes as the owner of the company and the contracts he makes, the money he makes on contracts he gives to his Indonesian crony companies and so on. The breaches of the concession agreement now, which Selangor is now using to terminate the concession agreement. Barisan Nasional Selangor thought they can make a big issue out of this water issue. But my thinking, it has backfired. They started first, the first attack was not enough water in Selangor. Then of course, very easy to answer. Ronnie Liu and YB Dr. Xavier and all took the media to the reservoirs and showed the photographs. The reservoirs are full of water. So people don't believe anymore. Say, what is this? You're saying no water, and you're trying to say there will be water shortages. Suddenly, everybody can see the reservoir is full. So they quickly shift the goalpost. Oh, there's not enough potable water, treated water. They changed the story quickly because the first lie is exposed. Now must create another lie. Not enough potable water. In other words, reservoirs are full, yes, but treatment plants are not giving enough water. Is that true? This is what I want to. This is a lie we want to nail on the head, and the best way to do it simply by figures. And this you can read. Nancy Khalid said this in a statement, and he had the information from a meeting between SYABAS officials and this newly formed Water Oversight Committee just set up by the Barisan National Government. And they confirmed the 35 treatment plants produces 4.960 million litres a day. We call it MLD, million litres a day. 14% over what SYABAS is distributing daily. They distribute 4.333 MLD, million litres a day. So we are, at this point in time as we speak, Selangor is at 14% over capacity. And what Tan Sri Khalid, our Menteri Pasar, said, he's going to invest a few hundred million immediately, and by next year, that overcapacity will be 20%. No need to build Langan 2. By next year, we have 20% overcapacity. So if SYABAS is going to start turning off taps, it's got nothing to do with empty reservoirs, it's got nothing to do with water treatment plants that cannot produce enough potable water. They are all lies. The first lie has been exposed. We are in the process of destroying and exposing the second lie. This is what's going on. The bad faith of the Barisan National, ladies and gentlemen, is obvious. William gave the history, how privatization failed and how correctly, this is what we agree. Sometimes we have to agree, but Barisan National, we don't disagree all the time. We agree with the policy of taking water back into state hands, nationalizing back water. We agree with that. Because ultimately, water is a public asset. It must not be treated like a private asset to be bought and sold for profit. We agree with that. We agree with the laws they passed in 2006 in Parliament, setting up SPAN, passing the Water Services Act, because the whole idea was to take water back into public hands. So, buy back, the state governments buy back from the private companies, the federal government will pay to the state government, take it back, maintain the assets. As William explained, when the federal government has the assets, they can borrow money cheaply to buy the assets as compared to private companies. But let the state operate the water supply process, the treatment and the distribution. And who did the cabinet, the Barisan National Cabinet in February 2008 nominate to operate water in Selangor? Kumpulan Darul Ehsan Berhad. This is the GLC under the Selangor government. They named it in the cabinet meeting. But the problem was, that was February. You know what happened in March? The plan went wrong. Because in March, the government changed hands. And then they showed their bad faith. Oh, suddenly, the whole plan cannot be implemented. Why? Because the face of the Selangor government has changed. It is classic bad faith. You cannot get a clearer example of bad faith where you don't implement your own policy, your own decision, simply because the face is no more Kip Toyo, the face is now Tan Sri Khalid. That's what's happening in Selangor. Then they stonewall everything. They block the purchase back of the assets. And this is again, you can see the clear logic of the bad faith. Shouldn't the federal government be trying to save our money, protect our money? In other words, negotiate and pay the lowest price. Because ultimately, whatever the state pays to buy back, you have to buy back, you have to pay to the state. That is the amount of money. But here, what is the federal government doing? Tan Sri Khalid offers 5.7 billion public money. What does the federal government do? Oh, says, no, not enough, I want to offer you more. See the logic? Ada masuk akal. Our public money and happily offering more. Instead of saying, I want to reduce the price and save the public money. Why? Because they are helping their cronies. That's the logic. So this is what is going on. And this could easily be solved 4 years ago, if the Barisan Nasional had stuck to their own declared policy, their own decisions, which is the state government must take the water assets back, PAB will buy back the assets, the state government will run water treatment and water distribution through KEADILAN. It was not done. They created a deadlock which persists until today. So they think now they can try to spin. We've got a few months more to a general election and they want to spin the story. Oh, the traps are going to run dry. Why? Because Selangor cannot manage its water. And this is the lie that we will demolish when we talk to people, when we take our message down to the ground. And where will all this go, ladies and gentlemen? I think that's the question people ask. Well, first of all, will the taps run dry? The taps are not going to run dry in Selangor. Believe me, they are not. Will the deadlock be solved? I don't think so. I think the idea, the objective of Barisan Nasional is to keep the deadlock going, and despite the fact, and this is important to appreciate, despite the fact, even the guy who collects the $400,000 salary every month, he has actually agreed to the price of 9.4 billion. He has agreed. Transit raised it from 5.7 billion to 9.4 billion. Finally said, okay, we are cutting short the concession. He worked out, I give you an ROI, return on investment of 12%, and I give you 9.4 billion. You can't get, I mean, that's a decent offer. In fact, I think it's a generous offer. But he wants to solve the deadlock in the interest of the people of Selangor. But what does the federal government do? Oh, not enough, must give more. Whose money? Their grandfather's money? No, our money. That's what the Barisan Nasional government is doing. And that's why the deadlock is still there. ROI of 12%. We put our money in the bank, we get 12%. We don't even get 4%. FD interest. These guys are getting 12% and walking away. Of course, they have created their own problems. The companies like SYABAS, they have borrowed money. William pointed out this now. They took their concession agreements to the bank, they borrowed and they walked away with hundreds of millions, possibly billions. And they spent a lot of it. Not to change the pipes, which is what they should have done. They should have changed the pipes, improved the pipes so that the NRW drops from the disgraceful figure of 32%. Even Bangladesh, in Dhaka, they have 29%, can you imagine? And we want to call ourselves a, what do they say? First class country, developed country. You can't even beat Dhaka. Dhaka is terrible, 29% is terrible. Because today, as the figures came from William said, the standard today is 4%, 5%, 6%. That is where we have to be when you manage water and control non-revenue water. But this is what SYABAS is doing. And in the number of years it's been given the opportunity to run the water distribution, it should have spent the money to reduce NRW. It received 250 million straight cash grants when it started to start working on NRW. And today the outcome is 32%. 1/3 of the water is wasted. So these are unacceptable for a country like ours. We build the tallest twin towers in the world. We build good highways, but we pour 1/3 of our water in Selangor down the drain because the company cannot manage it. Surely aren't we right now, therefore, to terminate the agreement, as what Tan Sri Khalid is now doing. He's invoking clause 32 of the agreement. Terminate the agreement and take it back using the law. But our obstacle has been and will continue to be the Barisan Nasional federal government. They will block it because they know by law their consent is needed. They will block it, and the inevitable outcome, ladies and gentlemen, is that this will go to court. There's no other way. Tan Sri Khalid has already signaled his intentions. He knows he has a good legal case, and he will take that to court, and we have to see. So there is no solution in the short term. We have to learn from this, and I think the message to all of us is clear. There is only one answer to this problem. We need to change Putrajaya. Change Putrajaya, bring back Perak to Pakatan Rakyat. And I think then we will start seeing the interests of the people being protected, and no more the interests of crony companies and business cronies, or what is happening now. So, ladies and gentlemen, that are my views on water. William and Mr. Pooh baked the cake. I just put a bit of icing on it. Now, let me spend a few minutes to talk about TALAM. See, TALAM is about the Barisan Nasional trying to create issues when there are no issues. This is what you do when you're bankrupt. When you're bankrupt of ideas, then you start looking for issues. And because of course you have the media, you can create issues. So what are they? Why now incessantly or regularly they are attacking Tansi our Menteri Besar Selangor? And what is the attack? And this is what we appreciate. What is the constant line they try to push? Oh, TALAM is a bailout. Pakatan Rakyat is doing bailout. So what we did before, when we did bailout, now bailout is okay. That's the logic. Pakatan Rakyat is doing bailout, we also did bailout, so they are both okay. Wrong. There's one major flaw in that statement. TALAM is not a bailout. What is a bailout? By definition, let's ask ourselves. Was Mars a bailout? Yes, obvious. A company that should be making money. Tajuddin Ramli is the classic example. When he took over Mars as the chairman, it had 400 million cash reserves. 8 years later he leaves, it's 8 billion in debt. What does the government have to do? No choice but to pumping money. Take money from the bank in the ground, Petronas pumping it. Rescue it. That's a bailout. And I can give you many, many more examples of bailouts. That is what a bailout is. TALAM is not a bailout. But let me tell you what TALAM is. The key person in TALAM is a gentleman called Chan Achai. I'm sure some of you have heard his name. Some of you may even know him. He had very good relationships with some of the previous Barisan Nasional Menteri Besars of Selangor. The most well-known one is the man who carried $2 million cash to Australia. You know who I'm talking about. He was good friends, and I'm sure he was also good friends with Ipoh. But the man he benefited most from was the man who carried the $2 million, Aussie dollars, is it? So, what is TALAM able to do that most of us cannot do? Now, I'm sure most of you will appreciate, and Dato' Liza is sitting here as a former MD, and you regard still as the lawful MD of Perak. You agree? Now, if you went to Dato' Liza in April 2008 and said, Dato', I want state land, you know what his answer will be? The same answer that Tan Sri Khalid Ibrahim gives to people who go to him and say, give me state land. Tan Sri Khalid is very simple. This one, he says, for land, I operate on market principle. Go and assess the market value, give me market value, I can give you the land. I can consider giving you the land. That was the way he operated. Chan Achai and his friend, the Menteri Besar, did not operate like that. Chan Achai can walk away using TALAM Corporation and their subsidiaries, can walk away with thousands of acres of state land. The grant in the hand. Take the grant, walk to the bank, charge the thing. And he hasn't even paid his premium. No? He hasn't even paid the price for the land. He hasn't paid the value. He's got the grant. Go and charge. And walk away with hundreds of millions of dollars. And have a good spending spree. Can any of you do that? No. Chan Achai could do that. Not once, twice, many times over. Started doing all sorts of projects. Over borrowed. Spent a lot of money. Of course, and those projects failed as well. And this is going on. You know, he's he's doing construction projects with GLCs like Unicel, doesn't complete, has to pay the money, doesn't pay them the money, and this is a continuous process. If you want to list the TALAM failed projects, it's a long list all over Selangor. Thousands and thousands of suffering home buyers had got stuck in these projects. They bought the houses and they never saw the houses. Then the great thing happened, March 2008. So Tan Sri Khalid walks into the scene. We call him, he's the new sheriff on the block. And he says, he asks the state officials, what are you doing about TALAM? No answer. Don't know what to do. He asks a question, how much does TALAM owe the state? Nobody giving an answer. Then he issues the instruction, I want all the debts listed. I want to know exactly how much this company owes the state. And the answer came, $392 million is the debt. The next challenge was how to collect. Because this company had also been run into the ground by people like Chan Achai. They sucked the money out. So the company itself doesn't have cash. But what it was sitting on is thousands of acres of land. Some of that land was still not developed, still not sold, still not used. So that's when Tan Sri Khalid set into place the mechanism to recover the 392 million from TALAM. And 340 million has been recovered in the form of land, and the balance 50-odd million has been collected in the form of cash. So this is the Barisan National logic, which some of the MCA leaders, I forget the name of the guy who, Chua San. I don't know where, I know he's a chartered accountant, I'm not a chartered accountant, but I don't know the logic in the brain which says, when I collect back the debt, which you are not collecting back, it's a bailout. I don't understand. But they insist on calling it bailout. We are saying we are collecting the debts which you, the Barisan National, was not even acknowledging. And you were just letting TALAM walk away scot-free despite owing all those hundreds of millions to the state. What Tan Sri Khalid did was a fairly complicated, complex corporate maneuver, because he wanted to make it easier to collect back the money. The money is owed to several GLCs, Kumpulan Hartanah, PNSB, Unicel. So he said, no, we will put all this into one GLC. The debts will be taken over by MBI, Menteri Besar Incorporated, which is directly under his office. So this man is a corporate man. Tan Sri Khalid Ibrahim, you know, was the man who became famous in corporate circles in the 1980s by organizing the famous dawn raid on Guthrie. So he's a man who knows the corporate world. He knows corporate maneuvers. He organized that. So that the debts were centralized into one GLC called MBI, and MBI will then negotiate the recovery of the debts from TALAM. So of course, the criticism is still coming. They know it's not a bailout. But they say, well, Tan Sri Khalid, you promised us a white paper. Where is the white paper? There, I think Tan Sri Khalid has to admit his flaw. He did not produce the white paper. We accept that. He's going to produce it in November. He did not produce it at the time he said he was going to produce it. Alright, that's a mistake. But I don't think it's the greatest mistake. Or it certainly doesn't compare with allowing robbers like Chan Achai to walk away with 392 million, as would have happened if the Barisan Nasional had continued to rule Selangor. That's what Tan Sri Khalid would not have done. So that criticism they make, we will correct that by November and produce the white paper and the other audits and so on. And they also point out that, for example, Hartana's books, Kumpulan Hartana is a public listed company owned by the state, and the debt is still on the books. So how come you say you have collected back the money, but the debt is still not removed on the books? True, that is correct. Why? Because the debt has been repaid in the form of land. Thousands of acres of land covered, which are now in the process of development proposals, where finally the state, in fact, the state will finally end up collecting far more than 392 million. Because those lands will be developed to realize even a higher value than what is the arrangement for paying back the loan. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the TALAM story. This is not a bailout, not what the Barisan Nasional is calling it, despite the fact that some of them go to accountancy school and become chartered accountants. They don't understand the logic of what is a bailout. This is the Pakatan Rakyat collecting back money due to the public purse from the former Barisan Nasional cronies. That is the TALAM story. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.